Hey y'all, it's Kasia, and today I'm going to show y'all how I installed this frontal wig. This wig came from Lemoda Hair Company. I will leave everything about this hair in the description bar below, but this is a 22-inch deep wave wig. It was already constructed when they sent it to me, and this is the box that it came in. It came with a wig cap and it came packaged as such, and it has a tag on it with all the specs. It's 100% virgin hair, and I believe this is Swiss lace, but I am not 100% sure. It was a really good lace. But anyway, I started off with bleaching the knots. I used 40 volume developer and blue flash salon care bleaching powder. I like to use blue bleaching powder because it's not as brassy as white bleaching powder. So I'm just going to be putting, I really eyeball my measurements, but if you want to try to get the measurements as close as possible, if you have a scooper, use 2 scoops of blue bleaching powder, and then I just add a little bit of developer as I go along until I get to a thick consistency that is still smooth. So I'm just going to start by smoothing the bleach all over the frontal. Be very careful. I know I fast forwarded this part so it does look like I'm tapping down hard on the lace, but I really am not. I'm really being very gentle so that it doesn't seep through to the other side. One thing I can say about this wig though is that the knots were very stubborn because some of them were super thick. Now the ones close to the edge weren't, but some of them, like in the middle part of the frontal, were super stubborn. Okay, so after I was done putting the bleach on there, I turned the wig back right side out and made sure to make sure that there wasn't any bleach on the actual hair. And as you can see here, I'm just like moving the wig around and making sure to like wipe off any bleach that may have gotten on the hair part, just to make sure that I don't over bleach or bleach too far up the hair. And I'm just gonna start by braiding her hair back. I pretty much just braid it all back and then kind of anchor it. I don't really know how to explain that. I guess you can just watch. Any braid pattern will be fine as long as it's braided back away from the hairline and not down. Okay, so once I was done, I used this lace paint, which is really lace tint, and I just tinted the lace on this wig. I basically just sprayed it on. I actually did, I believe, 2 coats of lace paint, and I mixed the 2 colors together to get a closer to, like a color closer to her skin tone. Okay, so I'm going to be using some Got To Be Glued to slick her edges back and make sure she doesn't have any hair that's lingering forward, because I'm about to do the ball cap method and I just want to make sure her edges are completely smooth back. Right now I'm putting on her a nude stocking cap and cutting out holes on the sides for her ears so that it can lay flat and adhere to her head by her sideburn area. If you don't want to use a nude stocking cap, you want it to already be their skin color, you can use knee highs. I will do a video on how to do a ball cap method with the knee highs one day. So anyway, I'm going to be using a Got To Be Glued spray to adhere it, and then I'm going to be using some Got To Be Glued gel over top of the Got To Be Glued spray. And then I'm just going to let that dry a little, well, not one, it's not going to be 100% dry, but I'm going to let it dry mostly, and then I'm going to use some makeup on the cap to match it to her skin color. So if you get a cap that matches your skin, you won't have to do this step. So I'm going to be using some Fit Me pressed foundation, but I'm also going to use a liquid foundation as well. I just use some Sephora brand foundation. Just use something that's close to your or your client's skin tone, as close as you can get. And then I had used the liquid foundation with a small brush, and then I went back with a fluffy brush to blend it all out. And I did that before I cut the lace off, just to make sure I didn't get a lot of makeup on her actual skin, so that I wouldn't have to use a lot of alcohol. So I'm just going to start by plucking out the hairline on this frontal. I still did more plucking once I put it on her head, but I like to kind of get a little bit of the hair out of the way by plucking ahead of time. So this is just me plucking the wig, and just a basic plucking to kind of thin out the hairline. This hairline was super, super, super full and thick. It was a struggle to get some of the hair out because it was just so full. Okay, so now I'm going to be using a razor to cut off the stocking cap, or the remainder of the stocking cap that we don't need. I'm not going to use the razor for the whole part, but I just did it for the front part. I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason when I use the razor, then I go back with the scissors and clean up the razor cut. It just fleshes to the skin better. I don't know if it's just me, but this is just what works for me. Okay, so I'm going to be measuring the back of her hair from ear to ear, cutting that off and adding the elastic bands, because I did remove the combs that were on the inside of the wig. So right now I'm just putting the wig on, seeing where I need to place it, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut her ear flaps out to make sure that it's laying perfectly on her head without it, because it will be on top of her ears, because they usually come, the frontals come pretty long. So I'm just cutting out her ear flaps and making sure that it's laying properly on her face. And then I'm going to use some alcohol, 91%, and I'm going to clean off her face. And then I'm going to use this Super Bond glue by Trina the Dream Weaver. I'd still prefer bow hold. I've been trying different glues, but I don't know, I just really love bow hold, so I'm going to go back to bow hold after I use this glue. Anyway, I'm just going to be going on and laying down the glue. I would say an inch of glue in the front, then a half an inch on the sides. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be placing the glue down, and the first layer of glue that I'm doing, I'm basically just really adhering the cap to her forehead more, and then I'm actually gluing for the wig. So now this will be the layer that I'm gluing for the actual wig. I would want to say, just make sure that you're making your layers thin as possible so that they can dry all the way, because if you make them too thick, they will not dry clear. But make sure before you add any more layers that the layer prior is completely clear, so you can just watch me do this. I know I did fast forward it, but it's really nothing special about putting the glue on, other than the fact that you want to make sure that you let the glue turn completely clear before you add more glue. So yeah, and I did the middle part first, and then I'm gonna do her sides, where her sideburns is and stuff like that. So yeah, just watch. Okay, so now I'm going to start cutting off the lace. I like to make snips and cut the lace off in basically like sections. I'm going to be using some mousse to get the hair out of the way to kind of make sure I don't cut any of the hair. So I'm just going to start off with one section. It doesn't matter where you start off at, but I don't like to start really in the middle, and I don't like to start on the end. So yeah, so I'm going to be making small little snips, and in these snips is I'm not making a straight line. I don't know if you can really tell, but I'm making like super small snips, and it's like making like a kind of zigzag part, if that makes sense. I really don't know how to explain this, but if I'm not explaining it well, or you don't know how to do it, I would suggest just going ahead and using a razor comb. I'm also going to be kind of thinning out her baby hair and edges while I'm going along. This hairline was so full and thick. It was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie to you all. It was definitely a struggle. You have to have patience to do a frontal. I just want to say that, especially one that has a really full hairline. So yeah, I'm just gonna be plucking and cutting the lace and plucking and cutting the lace. Okay, so right now I'm parting out her middle part, and I'm going to be making the part more defined. So I'm going to be plucking out, pulling out the hair in the middle to make sure that the part is defined. I did let y'all know once before that the hairline was super full, and that in the middle of the wig that it was super full. So some wigs you can just part and it'll be, a defined part, but this was not that wig. So I definitely had to pluck a lot as I went along. And honestly, the hairline was still super full after I finished it, but I was happy with the results. So anyway, I'm just going to be plucking. I'm just going to be plucking out a little bit of the hair. I'm pulling down the hair that's going to be the baby hair, and then I'm going to put on a silk wrap over it and just tie it and just let that glue settle in and let the hair just kind of mold down a little bit before I go ahead with the baby hair. So now that I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut the baby hair. I'm doing a rough cut. It really doesn't matter how you do this cut, because you're going to kind of slick the hair back into the hair. You can always cut more afterwards, but as you can see, I'm plucking some more. So after I'm done cutting and plucking, I am going to use some mousse and mold those baby hair into place. If you don't like baby hair, you can definitely skip out on this part. I love baby hair. It's my favorite part of doing a frontal. My absolute favorite. Since mousse is a wet product and the glue, you don't really want to have like really wet products when you're using glue. Make sure that you're being very, very, very gentle and like barely touching the actual lace part. So you want to mostly try to manipulate the hair and not the lace, because if you are too rough, you will definitely, for sure, 100% make the lace lift up. So as you can see, I'm being very gentle and very, like, not really touching the lace with the comb or brush or my fingers. I'm really not touching it much. I'm really being very gentle. So make sure that you're super gentle, and do not use, and if you're not used to doing this, don't use a lot of product. Now, I've done this many a time, so of course I'm very generous with the product, but I would say if you don't really know what you're doing, or if you're heavy handed, just don't use a lot of product, because you will make the lace lift. So yeah, so I'm just gonna be doing those baby hair how I like it. I just kind of went with the flow of how the baby hair just kind of naturally went, and they just kind of slicked themselves, I feel like. So yeah, after I was done doing this, I put the satin cap, or not satin cap, satin wrap back on her hair. I had her to hold it in the front to make sure that we didn't cause the frontal to shift or move, and I tied it in the back and I left it on for about 20 minutes. If you have a sit under dryer, you only need 10 minutes sit under the dryer, but I'm just going to be brushing out this hair so that we can start with the styling process. So after I brush it out, I'm going to be using the hot comb to make sure that the top part is flat, and where her parting is, that is flat. But for some reason, I really liked how this hair looked brushed out. I wanted to leave it like that, so I did kind of leave it like that, but I just put a little bit of product on it to kind of define it a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to be using the hot comb to flatten down the top part of her hair, and that's about it. Time for the unveiling. Woo! Okay, so yes, this is not the final results, but I'm gonna be flattening out that frontal one more time, just one more time, just one more time. Okay, so I'm just making sure that it is flat and everything, and I'm going to comb out those baby hair. You don't want them to be all crunchy, because the mousse does, when you mold something and you use mousse, it makes it a little hard. So you just want to comb it out and make sure that it's not hard. If the baby hair are too full, in your opinion, you can still pluck some more at this point. I was happy with the way it looked. I like the full baby hair look. But if you don't, go ahead and pluck out some more. Hopefully you don't have a frontal that's naturally super full like this one is. So I'm just kind of moving it around so you guys can see. And then I'm just going to begin to define the hair. And I'm going to use some QC Elasticurl, or Elasticare, Elastic QC, that's what it's called. Also known as Elasticare. Um, I think that's the same product. It seems like the same product, but don't quote me. Oh, I'm also going to be using a little bit of makeup to define the hairline on this thing. So yeah, I'm just going to spray it with a little bit of shine spray and a little bit of mousse. And after I'm done doing all of that, that is going to be the end. And I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. I love y'all. Thanks for watching. Tune in to my next video. I'm going to have another video very soon. I do apologize for being MIA for a few weeks. I was moving, as you may have noticed. I am in a new location. So yes, thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.